All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We're just a bunch of Kiss fans and we talk Kiss. So come along for the ride, you've got nothing to lose. Last week on the KissFAQ podcast, I've been thinking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2014 and how it seems that Kiss never misses an opportunity to something up.
Yeah.
My hopes are that we manage to navigate the Kennedy Center without Kiss this up in some way. And that means I don't see how it's possible for, if you stick a microphone in front of Gene Simmons' face, he's going to basically go rogue. That's his nature. Gene is Gene. Yeah. Paul is far more thoughtful, but I am concerned, very concerned, that there may be an agenda to utilize this press coverage and this focus in the same way that they did in 2023, nearly 2 years ago to the day, or to go off on tangents about life choices made 40 or 50 years ago. So my only hope is that we navigate one where we look at the three remaining members of the group on that broadcast or from photos that we see in advance, and we see a measure of peace on their faces, enjoying the moment together, celebrating the Kiss of 1972 to 80, which is the foundation on which all Kiss exists today. Thank you for coming to this TED Talk. All right, so welcome to the KissFAQ podcast. This is the week after the week where it all went down in Washington, D.C. Kiss was honored by the Kennedy Center, and we're going to be going through this event, what has happened so far. The broadcast of the musical gala will be on CBS, I believe, on December the 23rd. So check your local providers for further details on that. We will not be providing much insight into the gala event, simply because we do not want to be Grinches and ruin the surprise. And I'm hoping that there's going to be some edits made before it's fucking broadcast as well. So it's received worldwide coverage, obviously. Anything that involves the President of the United States has heightened visibility. The experience of being a social media provider and having the KissFAQ podcast, I might actually put my microphone near me. How about that? So you can hear me. Has been a painful experience, deleting thousands of posts. The ban hammer was swung wildly with the please keep politics out of it. Perhaps I was naive. Perhaps I was a complete moron to think that we would be successful in any measure in separating the politics from the art. It's just not possible these days. Did you guys check out the board? And I just wanted to know your opinion of last weekend. Was it as bad as I felt it was? Because I felt like there was just a continuous stream of rage mixed with people wanting to celebrate the moment because Kiss were worthy of being honored regardless of who resides in the White House. Ken?
Yeah, I mean, it did get a little crazy out there for a while, especially at the beginning. After comments and other things went down. But I think I've seen it worse. I think it's been worse than that before. I mean, it was up there to one of the most angry times. A lot of angry comments and people arguing and this and that. Yeah, people were upset. I mean, even I was upset, but I have more to talk about that coming up, I think. But it was kind of crazy, and I didn't know if you were just going to take everything down. For a while there, I was wondering what was going to happen, but it all kind of settled down after a while.
as much as the FAQ does. I think I need to wear a helmet and get one for Chris Rising Force to wear as well when moderating the FAQ at times. Chris, thank you very much for your service. I think everyone should give Chris a standing ovation for his many years of service as the one remaining moderator on that board. So thank you very much, sir. Daniel, from across the ocean through the fields of ice and snow, what was your view from the mountain?
Well, I think the Kiss FAQ, that's a general reaction from the board these days. Ever since, I guess, Monster, this is a typical reaction on the board. The haters are very loud. And I just enjoy when two haters get on each other's nerves and go head to head for a long ass, comment. They comment each other comments. I just sit back and eat some popcorns and enjoy the show. I don't mind that hate. I don't take it that serious. I think it's a small part of the Kiss community that get that angry, but they are loud and can be heard all over here to the icy north.
Yeah, you know what? I delete comments where necessary, and then it moves on to deleting threads. Banning people very much comes last. I've always been of the mind you have to let people communicate as much as possible, even if you don't like the tone of that communication. Everyone has different language skills. Some people have English as a second or third language, and Americans can't speak the language properly anyway. So you're not always going to have someone speaking to you with the tone that you would want. So I try and give it as much latitude as I can. I'm not perfect. I don't read every thread. Are you crazy? There's no way in hell I'm reading every thread on the FAQ.
On the other hand, I think it's nice to see that the board is alive and well, and people go there when they're angry. That's the place to go to. I think
they release their
cool.
anger on the board.
Yeah.
It's a vibrant cesspool. It's bubbling 24/7. For better or worse, it remains a very valid sounding board and a part of the community where people, some who they are and others who you don't know who they are because of anonymity, and there's no way around that in this day of VPNs and whatnot. So it's imperfectly perfect representation of the world at large.
And I think a lot of podcasts use the Kiss FAQ board when doing Kiss topics. There are often mentionings of, well, I read at the Kiss FAQ board that this and that. So it's very vibrant and it's very popular among the podcast community as well.
No, I just renewed the domain for another year, so there's another year left in the old
Another
girl.
year.
Yeah, we shall see. Let's get started on just looking at the recap. Unfortunately, on December the 6th, another day that will live in infamy, Gene opened his mouth to the New York Post and made some very unfortunate comments that are not worthy of any recap whatsoever. Gene has apologized, so let's call a spade a spade. He apologized. And it takes guts he didn't whitewash it in any way. He didn't sweeten it. He didn't gaslight. He apologized. So we have to take that apology for what it's worth, but there's no walking back or undoing the damage that it did. And it really set the tone. And those comments were known before the events that were supposed to be celebratory occurred. And it really struck me, going back to that opening comment, once again, they snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. If Gene was an American football player, the clock would have run out, the play would still be live, and he'd spike the damn ball on the 1 yard line, having been able to win the game. Yeah. He would have. He would have been Chris Wondolowski in front of an open goal. He would have missed that bloody sitter. So I was just aghast at the comments, and rightfully the board blew up because it was like, why are you unable to get over that? Yes, Ace left the band in 1983, and you continue to call him on the bloody phone, begging him to come back on tour and join the Creatures tour to get rid of Vinny. Even in early 1983, you were calling him, begging him. Yes, he caused you $15 million in losses by having Phonogram cancel your contract as a result of the shenanigans. Can you not put that all aside for the national celebration, the national award you're about to receive? And it's easy to say that from this side of the microphone because I didn't live those guys' experiences. Daniel, what were your thoughts on Gene's comments, and how did you receive and perceive them?
Well, I watched them online. I think it's very unfortunate that both Paul and Gene seem stuck in time. It's still 1980, 1979 for them. They have never been able to deal with those feelings they had when they had to let Peter go, and when Ace actually quit the band himself. And then he did the same thing later on when they wanted him to go on after that 5-year contract. So the bitterness is vital among those guys, and it's just too much for them. They can't seem to. The glass seems to be half empty all the time when they talk about Ace. Why not mention all the good things they went through? Why not the good times? Always the focus on him being such a F up as he was at times. But come on, guys. Get real now. I mean, it's like if you look back at if you played hockey or whatever, and you talk about you meet an old teammate, you don't bring up the time he scored an own goal. You talk about the good times and the good memories. I think it's so strange. It would never happen with a Scandinavian man. I think it's so unfamiliar to me to behave this way. I mean, let bygones be bygones. God damn it.
Yeah, it's very unhealthy. Where's Drago? One of my favorite people. Anyone know when the New York Post interview was given? No, I don't. And also, it's fair enough to also question, was he taken out of context or his word twisted in any ways? That was a print interview. It does happen. It happens far too frequently, and it's too easy to do. And again, he should know better this many years into his career. Ken, give us some reason for all this.
Well, first of all, some points. First of all, he should have never gone there. If he did, or whatever, how he said it, he just should have. It's too soon to even bring up, he had, problems and stuff like that. Ace just died, just recently. He just forget about all that. He's so used to, they're so used to him and Paul getting on Ace and Peter all the time, blaming them for this or that. I don't know. They just can't stop. It's let it go. It's over. So that he should have never went there. First of all. And here's some other things I was thinking about too. Yeah, it may have been out of context or whatever, but I think he gets going and he just starts rambling on and he just says this and that, and it goes. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, or it comes out a different way than he meant, but I don't know. The other thing is, I know this happens when maybe you lose somebody, and what happens sometimes is first you go through some shock, and then that's at the beginning, and then you go through your sadness, and then the sadness comes over you, and then later on you get kind of angry. And I think that's where he's had some interviews recently where he was angry at himself for not trying to, like he said, help Ace and Peter be stronger back then, to try to get them, cleaned up or whatever. He gets mad at himself. And so I think that's part of that comment comes partly from the anger that he was feeling. Like, man, he should be here. and he's, the comment about who falls down, and you know, people fall down and kill themselves all the time. I was looking at statistics. 40 something thousand people a couple years ago over the age of 65 died from falling down. That was just age 65 and over. And throughout the world, it's like extreme amounts. So people are falling down. It made it sound like, oh, he might have not been, the way he said it, may have not been cleaned up, and he fell down because he was he, like intoxicated, but he's been, Ace has been clean. You can't just assume things. Again, you got to get off the deal that, yeah, he did have drinking problems back in the day. It doesn't mean he still had them. So yeah, it just should have, period, just never went there. And even though Paul didn't say anything, but he says things in the past, the same thing kind of stuff, where he pissed off. He called, the piss comment. He said where, Ace wanted an apology from him, and Ace said, "F you, I'm not apologizing," on the phone.
Paul said that to Ace.
Yeah, Paul said that to Ace. Sorry. And so, yeah, I was like, dang, they just can't let it go. But you know what? They saved their asses in 1996. Peter and Ace
Gave them 30 extra years.
30 extra years and a shitload of money. Okay, millions of dollars. Asses. So be thankful for them. Be thankful that they came back and helped you when you were at the bottom in the 90s, pretty much. You weren't doing well, So I don't know. It's the whole thing is kind of crazy. You just kind of mute, you got to mute yourself from saying these kinds of things. Let that stuff go. Someone's gone. They've died. Why even talk about that kind of stuff? Just talk about the good stuff that these people have done for you and your band, and that part of the history. Leave the other stuff behind.
You got to forgive to live. And
there you go.
Those comments really hit me personally because my father-in-law passed on due to 2 falls. One fall was not bad. Well, it was survivable. The second one basically gave him the same impact as a major stroke, and he lingered for 5 years after the fact. So, Gene, shut the fuck up. You're not a medical doctor, but I can understand his anger. I can understand where he's coming from, exactly as you just expressed. That maybe if we had done more, maybe it's guilt. But Ace always had a problem with gravity. He was falling down on stage long before Kiss.
He was, exactly.
It became part of their act, his instability, particularly on platforms. So let's not even pretend that it's just something that has occurred in recent years for Ace.
It's been well documented. I heard an interview with one of his band members, and he said he needed some help to get up to just those small steps up onto the stage. He had to grab onto someone in order to get up. So he was weak in the legs, so to speak. Very weak.
So it's unfortunate and it's sad, but again, it's hurtful. But let's move on. I did a live stream immediately after the presentation, so I've just got a very abbreviated trip of the band the band members receiving their medallions from the president. Yes, it is the president. If you're triggered by this, please shut your eyes for a couple of minutes.
And the members of the incredible rock band Kiss: Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Peter Criss, and Ace Frehley, who now is resting in peace, and his beautiful daughter is here to accept the award. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. Thank you. That's pretty good stuff, huh? Let me turn that around. Thank you.
Take your medal and beat it, boy.
Thank you. My friend for a long time. Okay, that's good.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor.
And I think your father would be very happy to have you wear this, okay? Thank you very much. He's a great guy.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking every time I see that.
Yeah.
Those are great people.
All right, so that's the last time I need to ever play that clip. But how wonderful it is, that they're in the Oval Office. They receive it. Paul doesn't get a handshake. Gene does. Peter, I say Peter wins that ceremony because he thanked the president for the honor. Very, very eloquent. But it just hits the rock bottom once we reach Monique receiving the medallion on behalf of her father, and that is just heartbreaking. Jeanette was seated just across. She was in the room. Just absolutely heartbreaking. I do love how someone found one of the photos where behind the president was a flag for the Space Force or whatever. Yeah, and you could just see the letters ACE.
ACE. I found it. Yeah, that was good.
It was very nice moments. Daniel, your thoughts on the medallion ceremony?
It is what it is. It's nothing spectacular, and there isn't really any room to talk a lot. But I think it was good enough. I mean, I think it was kind of cool that he mentioned, well, this is my friend for a long time about Gene. I think that was a cool comment from the president. The president seemed to be, all loose, and he didn't mind being there. I think it's cool that, I don't know, was that the first time a president gave out the medals to the honorees? I don't remember seeing that previously. Anyway, it's a
Oval Office, I think.
Yeah. I think it's a cool thing, and they were all class the Kiss guys. I think But I'm wondering, what songs did they play from the Rocky IV soundtrack on that show? Did they play? Well, that might be later on in the show. I'm really interested. In that.
We'll talk about it. Bill Conte was there.
I saw Sylvester Stallone in the background there. What a great hairline when you're 80. Can that be real?
Don't know.
All right, Ken, your thoughts?
I don't know. It's Paul's and Gene's real. Yeah, right.
I don't know.
Same thing. I thought it was nice. The only thing I think, Paul wanted a handshake and didn't get it, and who knows? I don't think it was intentional or anything. It's just the way things happen sometimes. I agree. Peter. Thank you for the honor. He was really, I think, pleased. And like you said, honored to be there and get that award. Probably more so than Gene and Paul. I don't know how they feel. I'm sure they were honored too, but it came across, good from Peter, and it was sad. Monique, that's just sad. It's too, tough that Ace was not there to be there. I don't know how he would have been. I'm sure he would have been the same, kind of similar to Peter.
Just imagine if we'd had Ace's laugh in that,
or if he laughed during that, or something happened, or he joked about something.
Imagine if he cracked wise to Donald Trump in the Oval Office, and all of a sudden he starts laughing, and then everyone's laughing.
That's very possible that could have happened, and unfortunately, we will never get that. So.
The only thing I remember from that speech they did when they received the honors from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was Ace saying, "Oh, I forgot my spectacles or my reading glasses." He had a note, but he couldn't read from it. I think that's so typical Ace, but it was a nice speech from him that time as well.
Yeah, so, and of course his comments about diarrhea at that time.
Yeah,
Marco nails it in the comments. Yeah, a dignified ceremony for all participants. Yeah, So that was a win. Let's move into the red carpet. First up on the list.
And all together? I know, yes, all together.
Just turn that volume down a bit. So they were dragged back. Gene had already done an interview, and I haven't managed to track down that one yet. This is Magno News, who did a great live feed during the broadcast. So they got all the surviving members and significant others for a group picture, and this just shows the dynamic a little bit of doing the red carpet thing with the wives. Yeah, as for Peter's gum chewing, it had no effect on my pet peeve because I'm used to it, and he's a drummer, and drummers look at Eric Singer.
He's always
well,
chewed gum.
Yeah, I just kind of used to it. I don't like it personally, but if Peter Criss wants to chew gum, he's Peter Criss, and I sure as heck isn't. So yeah, red carpet. That's just them coming in. They were at the head of the line for the start of the press gaggle or whatever it's called. It really was nuts. There are multiple live feeds still up on YouTube if you want to watch the whole thing, and everyone else who went through that assembly line of press. So isolating clips from this was very difficult. Paul was first. So let's just go straight into make sure this is right.
Here without Mr. Freeland. What would he say?
Well, it's still a celebration, and we can mourn him and celebrate what we've accomplished. I'm really the child of the American dream. We came here with nothing. Our parents were people who fled during World War II and aspired to something great, worked hard, and never expected a handout, and we're the result of that. So it's an honor to be here.
And what's the secret to giving the performances that you give that are so iconic?
I think you're always trying to please yourself. If you're second guessing the public, you're going to go wrong. It's like a relationship where it falls apart and you say, I thought you wanted me to be like this. So the best thing you can do is be yourself, and if you please yourself, you'll please someone else.
All right, so classy statement from Paul there, straight up and out of the bat. He does the elegant pivot. That's what I love about Paul when he speaks. He's very thoughtful. He addressed Ace and his absence in a very classy but concise manner, in which to then pivot to the topic of the day, which was the surviving members and Ace's band being honored. So, Ken, comments on Paul's comments?
Yeah. No, it was, well said comments. And like you said, he pivoted, and which he does a lot, he doesn't want to focus on one thing all the time, certain things. So he'll pivot a little bit, but, yeah, it was a nice answer, bringing up his heritage, of course, about fleeing Germany, his parents or family, or maybe his parents, I don't know. But yeah, it was just a nice comment. Nothing out of the ordinary from him.
Daniel.
Yeah, he could stay there in the Oval Office. He sounds like a politician. I mean, he's great at that. He can just stay there and become a politician. And that's one thing I actually like about Paul, is that he doesn't sound dumb, as many rockers do in interviews. I mean, you can appreciate his ways of approaching an interview. He always thinks about what he's going to say. So at times it can feel a bit slow, but I think he's very good at expressing his opinion, and he sounds kind of smart in comparison. I mean, if you compare him with Dave Mustaine or others from the 80s, or I mean, he's way better in interviews. And I want my rock and roll heroes to be kind of smart. I don't want those. It's cool to have one or two in the band that can actually think and give a great statement. So I think it was a good comment from Paul.
Yeah, in English, we describe his tone as measured,
Yeah.
in that he
Yeah.
thinks and he's thoughtful and he's very deliberate,
Yep.
particularly these days. But again, when words get twisted so easily, it's understandable why he's learned a lot, as someone who does a lot of press. So I mean, he's a natural. So I thought that was a great comment. I saw on the board people were bitching about these comments. I'm like, I think that's a great comment. So
Nothing wrong. Yeah.
score one for Paul there.
Tell me, what does this mean to you?
You have to speak up. I'm in a band.
What does it mean to you to be here, to be with your family? What does this mean?
Well, we all started before you were born, half a century ago, before cell phones and digital stuff. And we did it the old-fashioned way. You get into a station wagon and you go across America, and like the original politicians, take your platform to the people. And we were never a critics band, but those critics are all dead.
What did you tell your wife when you found out you were going to get this award?
He said you got to go buy a dress.
Or two.
Gene and Shannon, what a pair. So again, Gene also talked up the immigrant story, and we were talking about that a little bit before going on the air today, that message that Gene talks about continuously about coming to America, and it being a land of opportunity, resonates with me as someone who similarly came to this country from elsewhere for the opportunity. No denying it. I was on the dole in Glasgow. So I came here and ended up with a job in 2 weeks, and there I stayed. I've only had 2 jobs since. So Gene has always resonated with me, but he's always got his liners. We've been doing this longer, than you've been alive. But I do like the analogy that he makes of the parallel with Kiss. Aerosmith similarly took it to the people. And that was the old school way of staying on the road, presenting your music until you succeeded or utterly failed. And that it very much is an American story, and one for politicians. And it was the lesson that Tip O'Neill learned back in the 20s, that you had to go door to door. You had to take your message to the people if you wanted the people to support you, whether it's in politics, whether it's in music. So I thought some good comments from Gene. I'll go straight to you, Ken, for Gene, your appraisal of that clip.
Oh, it's typical Gene. Nothing new from that. At least he didn't say gymnasium or anything.
No, he did later on.
Well, I know he did. He'll say. I mean, he said it in the other thing, right? The deal for speaking to Congress or whatever it was that other day. I thought, oh gosh, he did it again. But yeah, it was perfectly good answer to the question. I think I saw some more interviews with him talking about his mother and other stuff too, like he does. So yeah, perfectly fine speech or answer to the question.
Yeah, and just to address that one comment about Gene and Paul both talking about families who fled Europe in the 30s and 40s, and also, obviously Gene coming from Israel later on. Paul's family, half of it has a very similar story to Gene's, indirectly fleeing. I know the boat they arrived on. I've got all that information from stuff I've worked on in the past. So yeah, you don't hear it a lot from Paul, but there's a parallel story of horror there. It's Daniel.
Yeah, I think Gene would love to be a politician, but he could never be one. His tone is sort of condescending. He's very intimidating. Speak up. I'm in a band. I mean, stuff like that, But at the same time, at the same time, I think he's real funny. I think he's so funny when he plays his role, sort of the big loudmouth rock and roll star, and I think it works as long as he doesn't go overboard. He's very funny, so I think that was great from Gene.
Yeah, it's lighthearted. I mean, he was being serious. I mean, there was one other guy. I don't know if I've got the clip today, where he was saying, "Are you interviewing me?" or am I interviewing you? Because the guy had such a long-winded preamble instead of, again, these are short. So he's like Mr. Focus, and you could constantly hear, kind of back chatter as they went through the line, short and simple, keep it short. They wanted to really move these guys. And I can't imagine how tough it is to do that. When you're in your 70s, you're not as quick-minded in the process as you once were. And even me being younger, trying to do that sort of thing on occasion, not with that level of pressure either or visibility, it's not easy to do, even if you've done it previously. So I've got a lot of respect for all of them, but most for my guy who's coming up next. And of course, this is Peter. He doesn't do a lot of these things.
No.
And even back in the days of Kiss, he would sometimes take the back seat and let the other guys do it. So let's see what Peter had to say.
This has been a great time. So God couldn't have given me more stuff from a kid from the streets of Brooklyn. I can't believe I was in the White House. Holy mackerel, the White House. Well, congratulations, Ken. Thank you.
All right, so that's a real quick one, so I'll go straight into another.
What this means to you
I'm just so honored to. I wish my parents were here to see it. And again, we lost our guitarist 5 weeks ago. He had a horrible accident. I wish he was here. It's a dream. It's like almost surreal. Our world is nothing like the Oval Office I was in last night, with the president. And
What are you most excited about?
You can tell my wife, I have not slept. Last night I finally laid my head down. I slept 9 hours, which was a miracle because I have insomnia. And I couldn't believe today that I was going to be sitting, here and meeting all of you. It's very exciting. It's my heart is beating.
I love that. I'm sorry. When it's Peter Criss, it's got to be 3.
How's it feeling to be one of the honorees?
It's a high. I mean, it's like, I can't believe we're here. This is way out of the rock and roll world. It's not the Hall of Rock and Roll Fame, but I have a new album coming out on the 19th of December. So I was working in the studio and my wife came down and said, "Hey babe, you're going to the Kennedy Center." I said, "Don't tease me. That's never going to happen. That's just not going to happen." And here we are. And last night we were in the Oval Office with the president. And he was so gracious and he was so cool. And he's going to be here tonight emceeing it. And we just lost our guitar player, Ace. So his wife came. She was very ill, but his daughter's going to sit in the booth with us, and she's going to be the first, ever to ever get to sit with. So it's been great. He's been very gracious. He's been really cool.
It's got the gum.
Yeah.
There'll never be anything. We really had a dream, all the same dream. If we had to wear a dress and high heels and lipstick, that was what we would have to do. And we wound up actually wearing lipstick and high heels. But we all had this dream that we wanted to make it, and we thought we got to do something way beyond. And so we were very theatrical. We're New Yorkers, Broadway. So we started with a little bit with the makeup, and it got heavier and heavier. And then we thought, what can we do for the show to make it more? So let's blow up the stage. Let's levitate the drums, Gene spitting fire. And it became an event which no rock and roll band ever, if you went back in the day, they played and then they left. With our thing, we blew you up. You left going, oh my God, what was that about? So and today I see so many bands, including country western, using rockets and fireworks and wearing makeup. So I'm proud of it. I'm proud we opened the door for other bands to be out of the box, so to say. Be very creative. It's okay to do that. It's okay to.
All right, so I did not give candidates equal time, but such, in going through all of these clips, I'm sorry, Peter's resonate with me the most because they do come across with a sincerity and a heartfeltness. And you know what? I complimented Paul on his expression in that first clip, and I think Peter should be complimented by, his. If you look on any single clip, you'll find something to fault. But when you weigh them all, you'll see Gene talking about Ace, Paul talking about Ace, Peter talking about Ace, all of them expressing thanks, not necessarily in the same clip, but they saw a lot of different people there. I'll shut up. Daniel, Peter Criss.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that his honest in his opinions. He's not as measured as Paul Stanley at all, and it really comes across as if he's enjoying the event. And I think being Peter Criss, you've been sort of out of the limelight for quite a while, so it might be even bigger for him than Paul and Gene to be sort of remembered a bit after you were in the people's eye, so to speak. So I think he had some good comments. He mentioned Ace. He mentioned their coming up as a new band, what made them special, how they have influenced even Western and country music. So I think he did well. And I also saw an interview when his wife sort of interjected a short snippet about Ace, which was cool as well. She said, "Well, the only downer is that Ace isn't here, and that's real bad." So I think it was cool that his wife also seemed to be on the same page as Peter, and very good.
Yeah, don't forget Peter was with Ace till the end. Ken.
Yeah, he was obviously truly honored and over, very happy to be there. And the one thing about Peter is he's not going to give you bullshit. he's just coming from the heart and giving you the truth and how he feels. He's not saying the old same tired lines that maybe Paul and Gene. You always know what Paul and Gene almost every time what they're going to say. But Peter, no, it's coming straight from the heart from him, and he seems very happy, at ease, and just overly honored because he never expected it. He never expected that something like this would happen. So yeah, I think his comments, all his comments, were great.
It was kind of fun that he was the one doing the plug and not Gene. I think that was.
And he actually plugged his album a little bit, which is good.
He better have. Yeah, I was wondering whether the avatars were going to get mentioned.
Yeah,
fair baseball.
I'm glad he did it. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's all of the red carpet stuff that I've seen has been, pretty acceptable and heartwarming, and I love the comment from I can't see it now, and Darklight, thank you for the comment. There it is. Imagine what Ace's red carpet interview would have been like. Hey, Bobby.
Curly.
I'm sure Ace would have had a great comment as well, and I'm sure he would have derailed it in some manner and have people laughing. And as far as I know, Monique did not do red carpet. Why would she? I just imagine the emotional toll of just being in the White House, the Oval Office, receiving his award, the mental her father. She's been a very strong woman through this, but her father, and just to go through a press gaggle when you don't do that's just cruel and inhumane. Yeah. So I'm glad that she didn't. Finally, from the red carpet, I would be remiss if we did not feature the host of the event. Settle down.
Select Kiss to be honored this evening. Do you have a favorite Kiss song?
Well, I like them as people. I've listened to their music over the years. They are characters, too. They really are. I don't know if you saw last night the speeches. They were great. They really made some great speeches last night. And they're very popular. A lot of people write in and ask us to select. So, think of it. Sylvester Stallone was not picked for any of this stuff. He's one of the greatest movie stars of all time, based on revenue, based on, Rocky and Rambo and the numbers. No, I doubt. Maybe there's a couple of stars that have done something equal, but really there's nothing like it. So we're going to have a very exciting night. But Kiss is terrific.
Kiss is terrific. I agree. I can actually agree with something that the president said. Honestly, with no rancor whatsoever. Kiss is great. What do you think the president's favorite Kiss song is, Ken?
Yeah, you know, I was just hoping he would answer like "Rock and Roll All Night." I was like, oh, don't say that. You know, that'd be too. I'm glad.
Should have
You
said
know,
Beth.
I'm sure he knows. He has I guess, a wide variety of music. He has that he listens to. He has a playlist and all that kind of stuff. I think he likes a lot of rock and other music, obviously too. But what would his favorite song be? That's a tough one.
I have a pick. Well, while you're thinking, Ken, I have a pick.
King of the Mountain. I'll say that one.
That's a good one. I'm thinking when the little I know about his politics, it seems like "I've Had Enough" would have been a good pick for him as well.
I had enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one. Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the danger zone with this topic, as I can already see from the comments.
Okay,
Thank you
look
for your
out.
comments, everyone. I'm going to go with the safe pick, since he's a New Yorker, New York Groove. How about that? It's going to be an Ace Frehley song.
Yeah.
You know
That's
what?
a good one.
He said Ace's name correct again. All that practice paid off.
Yeah, yep.
So
But
that's very cool.
I have to
Right.
just quickly say that he works well in these sort of big events. The president, not so much when he talks about politics and stuff like that, but when it's about media, and I kind of enjoy him at those events. I think it's much like Bill Clinton was good at this as well back in the day when it came to sort of. I remember him playing the saxophone on MTV at one point in time, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you have to have a bit of P.T. Barnum in you to be a political leader or a politician. There is, everything's so performative in politics these days. So,
but you have a
to be
guy.
good at it if you-
A guy like W. Bush, he was awful at those kinds of events. Ronald Reagan was good, but both Bushes were awful, I think. So I like to watch him when it's about entertainment. That's his, sort of home. What do you say? His
Home
thing.
field.
Home field. Yeah.
Yeah, home ground. Yeah, so the president mentioned the speeches that night. I don't know if we're going to get to see any of them. There was some footage shared. There was footage shared by the Kennedy Center of the private reception for the awardees, and Peter, Paul, and Jean and Mary all gave speeches. The honorees gave speeches to the audience. I don't know if we get to see any of that. Maybe as part of the broadcast, they'll put some of that together. But I have no idea what they spoke about. I'm sure it was basically about gratitude and their paths to there. There were some unfortunate moments. There's no way around this one topic, and I'm just trying to cue up my video. I want to preface this next section about Shannon with a couple of things. I've looked at this video. I've not been able to find a true and accurate source. I'm shocked that someone would be working press on the red carpet with an iPhone. I think that's really unprofessional.
Yeah.
And to be holding it vertical orientation. I did an AI separation on this, trying to clean up the audio a little bit, and something interesting happened. Absolutely all the audio, including Shannon speaking on the side, was isolated on one track, except for 5 words, which are right at the very end, where she is not on camera speaking, where she says, "That's my purse chair." That was the only audio that isolated on a completely separate track. That is enough to plant a seed of doubt for me that this is true and accurate without a secondary source with which to verify. You don't accept one source. You need multiple sources to be accurate before you condemn someone for a comment. And in this world of fake video and AI and voice spoofing, it is far too easy to do. If she did say what she said in this clip, then I think she also should apologize for that. But if she did not, I would like a denial that is an AI, FI. And they should find out where that video came from, because again, it's uncool. Here's the
Yeah.
Uncle Gene, it is an honor. I just said before, you've been my hero since I was 13. It's incredible. To me, I just said this before, this feels like the ultimate vindication, not just for the four of you, but for the entire KISS army, right?
Interview me instead of yourself.
Which leads me to ask, Gene, how does this feel for you? I mean, it must be incredible.
It doesn't suck.
High praise. Did you tell the president that yesterday?
That was the first sentence my daughter said. Because her bottle was clogged up. She goes, Daddy, it doesn't suck.
That's actually true. The president was very kind. We had a few words privately about stuff that I can't divulge to you. Nice equipment, by the way. How much you spend on this thing?
It's on a contract. To be back with Peter and Paul, how does that feel for you? Is it like coming full circle?
Well, once you're a member of the family, you're in the family. It doesn't matter who else or what else. Once you have children with somebody, even if you get divorced, you always come back because those are mom and dad. We started together and here we are. Sadly, Ace Frehley didn't make it. I know he would have loved to be here. His daughter Monique and his wife Jeanette are here, and we're going to make sure the president personally guaranteed to me that there's going to be an open chair and we're sitting there in honor of Ace.
Thank you, Gene.
That's my first chair.
Again, she's off camera.
I think it's fake.
And I have questions over that audio, because everything else Gene said in that was actually pretty cool. He spoke about Ace. He mocked that interview. Who is that? He sounds Australian. So who is that interviewer? Because I would really like to see original source video before Shannon is crucified for that. Ken?
I've seen this video. Excuse me. There was that. This is my picture. That sounds like it came from somewhere else. I remember something with Shannon saying that another time. Something I watched where she said that exact comment. I know it's just like popping.
Family Jewels.
I'm just kind of like recalling it now, and where they were like sitting somewhere and getting interviews, and there was the seating, and they were like in some seats or something. I don't know. I recall it. I don't know if anyone else has seen it. I don't know how long ago it was, but I remember her saying that. So I don't know. Based on your detective work, Julian, I'm going to go with your, Dick Tracy work. So yeah, it's kind of a weird comment to say at that time. But yeah, I kind of recall her saying that somewhere else, and maybe it was pulled from something. It's very possible. So who knows? Maybe we'll have to do some more detective work, I guess.
Yeah, Internet Hive Mind, we need your services. Ken thinks he's heard that comment before, and it may be a cut and paste job blended into that without seeing her mouth move. I think if you've heard of it and you can find it, I think it would be the honorable thing to definitively put it to rest. Because otherwise, Shannon has been dragged over the coals for a comment, and that is not cool if it is fake. And if we can prove it's not fake, then we do justice to her and to Ace's memory. So, Daniel.
Well, I just enjoy our leader
Drama?
being... No, I enjoy Julian being Sherlock Holmes here. That's really interesting, putting in the time to listening and finding out that there are different channels and all that kind of stuff. You just got the new nickname. I'm going to call you Sherlock from now on. Well, this is... I think it's obviously fake. I don't think she said that, and it's a way of getting.
It's like her head was turned the other way too. I think.
Yeah. And the sound, I think it's a bit too clear. I mean, it looks like if she's moving away from the telephone, but the volume of her voice, of course, you can alter that, but something has been done with that audio. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Don't trust everything that you see, nope. And that's why I said that you would not publish that as a story without verifiable sources, and you would definitely want a second source on something like that.
I think that it was edited by 60 Minutes.
But well, come on, the BBC was called to task for doing exactly the same thing. Of late.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
unfortunately, people are being sloppy, and even our intro today, our recap from last week, I did edit for clarity to cut down
What?
so that
You edit?
your focus.
Fake news.
Yes, I edited it.
Fake.
I raised my
Fake
hands.
back.
All
Fake
right, so
back news.
that is that.
Anyway.
We had to cover it because there's no skipping over it. Following night was the gala. As I mentioned, I'm not going to do any spoilers for this other than what's already made it out into the public space. Chris Angel did something. He was also on the red carpet. So here's Chris Angel, just a quick clip of him.
Say it again?
Their legacy and contribution to American culture. That's why they're being honored. What would you say that is?
Well, I think Kiss is like, apple pie and hot dogs. I mean, everybody knows the Kiss song. Their catalog is enormous. Their presence of the larger-than-life superhero characters that they are is just transformed. It transformed the music industry, transformed the entertainment landscape. So I think Kiss, everybody knows a Kiss song, knows what Kiss looks like, and everybody loves Kiss. I mean, how could you not?
How could you not love Kiss? I agree with Chris Angel there.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to seeing the broadcast. It's just 10 days away now. It's going to be exciting no matter what, especially with what I have heard, to see how it does manifest itself. Before we go into what we do know about the performance, Daniel, thoughts on Chris Angel? Do you love Kiss?
I kind of do. I kind of like him a bit. Yeah. No, I think that guy seems to be a real Kiss fan. The times I've seen him, I have no idea who he is really. Is he some sort of magician or what is he?
Yeah, he's this generation's David
magician.
Copperfield.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in Vegas.
I saw him walking around in Paul Stanley boots. That looked kind of cool.
Yeah,
high
Those were
heels.
Paul's boots from the final show where he was also present.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I remember
Very
him
cool.
being prior to the concert starting in Madison Square Garden. He was interviewed, I think, by that chick. So
Allison.
I've seen him around, and it sounds like he loves Kiss. And if you love Kiss, you're on my team.
Yep, it's our band. We love Kiss.
Yeah, that's
Even
why we're
Ken.
here.
Even me, I
Well,
like it.
he mostly loves Gene.
So, what do you think about Chris Angel?
I think it's great. I think it's always great hearing another fan or person out there that, shares their love for the band, for Kiss, and like we, have for them. And kind of when you talk about love for them, just going back to the very beginning of this episode, I just want to say is we know all the members of Kiss, Gene, Ace, Peter, Paul, they had their disagreements. They all loved each other, and they still do, because they were the four, kind of brothers, became kind of brothers along the way. So even though all those things happened, things are said and stuff, they all still loved each other. So I just want to say that. But yeah, Chris Angel was, Chris Angel. He's a Kiss fan, and I liked what he said.
So, reportedly, the musical performances. Daniel, you asked about Stallone and Rocky musical. They did the Rocky theme with an orchestra.
They
and
have to. There it is.
Nuno Betancourt.
Oh, that's Rocky IV.
Wow. Yeah, this is the best movie, Rocky IV.
They did not do Living in America because who do you get to do James Brown?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, nobody.
Actually, there was someone who did a very good James Brown. Eddie Murphy.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Look that up on YouTube. I plead with you because I love James Brown, I love Eddie Murphy, and those two worlds collide, and it is epico. Absolutely fantastic. For Kiss, the musical celebration was Garth Brooks performing "Shout It Out Loud." Cheap Trick canceled a show and did "Rock and Roll All Night," and Marcus King, who I had to Google, did Beth. So, Daniel, your take on those three performances that we have not yet seen a minute, even a second of?
No, nothing.
What do you think about the acts that were chosen to do those performances?
Well, I guess Cheap Trick was a good pick. Other than that, I had been hoping for other artists to be perfectly honest. I would have hoped more of kind of rock bands doing the honors, so to speak. Beth, of course, it's a staple. You have to do that one, maybe. I'm looking forward to see what Garth Brooks is doing with Shout It Out Loud. Maybe he can rock that tune. He did a good job on that album a long time ago, back in '94 when he did Hard Like Woman. So he was a sincere Kiss fan back in the day and still is, I guess. But I was hoping for other bands. That was the first thought I had when I saw who was performing the songs. But it can be pretty cool. I remember Heart doing Led Zeppelin, and it was some of the best performances I've ever seen of that song. So you never know what you're gonna get, really, until you've seen it.
Heart doing Stairway. I watched in preparation for this. Is one of those most magical musical moments. There's a couple of them that really strike me. Completely just you've done a tangent. I just want to just quickly do this. Prince doing the guitar solo for While My Guitar Gently Weeps for I think that was Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And also Gretchen Wilson doing Barracuda.
Yeah.
Is one of those epic moments for me musically. So, Ken, your take on those performances?
Yeah, I can't wait to see
performers.
I can't wait to see the performances.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about those later.
23rd. Yeah, I mean, it's Garth Brooks, Cheap Trick, kind of, I guess, somewhat obvious, I guess, in a way. The other one not so much, but I know we had an episode earlier in the year, talking about who we thought who should perform. I think Cheap Trick did come up by somebody, one of us, and Garth Brooks may have also. So, yeah, I mean, seems like good picks. I just hope the performances are great. They probably are. And I think the artist who did Beth, I forget his name now. You just said
Marcus King.
Marcus King. I think he's country. I think he's another
country Americana.
Oh, Americana. Okay, good. Oh, so they're in with the Stanley Simmons genre, yeah, Americana. Kind of.
I recommend you Google him because he actually has a very interesting backstory that aligns well with some of the messages that are coming out from the members of KISS from their lifetime of experiences. So he surprised. I had no idea who he was. I still haven't listened to any of his music. I did Google him to see what his deal was, and when I read his bio, I was like, wow, that's a pretty good outside the box fit. I would have been all get Adam Lambert in to do Beth, someone who's theatrically Broadway, got serious cred in terms of that. But I've got no idea. I can't wait to see that performance.
Yeah, it should be interesting.
And they better not cut it. That's
don't cut any of that. Yeah.
Cheap Trick. That's again a great pick. It's kind of almost too predictable in one way.
Yeah.
I would have liked a bit more rock for Shout It Out Loud, which I thought as a song, the musical selections were fantastic. Shout It Out Loud. It's an anthem.
Yep.
It's also a clear message. I think I've said bad things about the song previously, but in this context, I'm happy about that. Garth Brooks, again, has a shared history with KISS. So Gene spoiled that surprise long ago, saying that was going to happen. So I think musically, I can't wait to see what they do with this whole tribute and how it flows as a sequence, because I believe the president was emceeing intros. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and find out. So let's move into the final part before we wrap up. And this is the most I find this to actually be one of the most unfortunate things, and I'm sure it was not intentional.
Yeah.
Tommy Thayer. Tommy Thayer comes from a military family where the concept of stolen valor will be well known to anyone who's been anywhere around the military. There are scum of the earth who do stolen valor, pretend to be something that they were not. And it's shameful. But so is this clip.
Hey everybody, Kara Castronova here in front of the White House with Tommy Thayer of KISS, who received an award last night from President Trump at the Kennedy Center. So I could safely say you might be one of President Trump's favorite guitarists.
Well, he's got very good taste in music, obviously. We had a great event last night, the Kennedy Center Honors with KISS, George Strait, and many others. And it was really a highlight of all of our year, and it was just an honor and a pleasure to be here. Great show.
Did you ever think that you would get an award from a president of the United States?
No, it's just it's a big honor, and
you still
KISS
haven't.
has been, had a great storied career for 50 years, and we're just honored to be here and be part of it. And President Trump has done a fantastic job. They're doing great things at the Kennedy Center now, and it's just an honor to be here. And he's got good taste in music.
All right, so I don't think it's intentional. I don't think he decided to try and pretend to be something that he wasn't. I don't think he thought it appropriate to correct the reporter. I don't know if that was live, by the way. It's a kind of a matter of don't rock the boat. Don't deny anything. But by the act of not denying it, he didn't receive an award from the president last night. The band that he's a member of,
band got the
certainly did. So it's all a matter of semantics, which is a big word like gymnasium. I just think it's an unfortunate clip to make it out from all of that, where there's any hint that he thinks he's getting an award for what KISS was being honored by, because I'm sure he knows he wasn't. But I know he's part of KISS's history and legacy, no matter what people think of that. So that's a really tough one to kind of try and analyze, rationalize, justify, and not go into just denigrating Tommy, because I do like Tommy personally. I don't have any issue with him whatsoever, and he did play the role for 20 odd years, doing his best every single night. So it's just he did not earn an award that he alluded to. Daniel?
That was really awkward to watch. Really awkward. Wow. I don't know what to say, but I think we all know that Tommy Thayer is a team player. He wants what's best for KISS. And I guess he kind of, he was not prepared for that interview, it seemed. And he was sort of trapped in his old role of being the ace clone. So he started out, rolling with the punches, and then it was too late to say, hello, I wasn't actually awarded any award. So he just, made it through the interview, and it was a mistake. We all know that he's a good guy.
Yep. And I didn't play the clip to have anyone hating on Tommy. It's simply that I find it an unfortunate clip to also be doing the rounds with all the other coverage from the event. Ken?
Yeah, I kind of think he had his chance to stop her and say, oh, I didn't individually get an award, but the band was honored, and I was part of that history of the band. Could have said something like that. But either was just didn't want to stop her or, correct her, maybe just didn't want to correct her. Though he probably should have. But I thought, oh well, I don't think anything was intentional there. He knows he's not really being awarded anything. The thing is, I'm sure, though, Paul had, made sure to tell Tommy and like Eric Singer that you guys, you're coming to the White House too. You're going to be there. We want you there because you're part of this whole thing. You're being awarded too because you're part of KISS. Though they're really not awarded, but I can see that happening because the line of we couldn't have gone continued with Ace and Peter comment with we couldn't have done it without Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer later on. So that comment makes me think, and they're all there. Bruce is there too, and so everyone is pretty much there.
Not Vinny.
As being part of the Kiss.
Well,
the
Eric's
band
family.
Kiss.
Was Eric's family there?
I don't know. Eric's family? Oh, the Carr? I don't know.
Eric Carr. The
Eric
drummer
Carr.
of Kiss for 12 years.
Like a sister? I don't know.
Haven't
Probably
heard anything
not.
about that.
I don't know if they were invited or not, but they probably should have been, in my opinion, if the other ones were there. So
yeah, because if it was all about Kiss on a whole,
part of the whole Kiss family,
a representative of the Caravello family should have been invited by Gene and Paul as well. If Bruce is there, if Tommy's there, if Eric's there, Vinny's not going to be there.
No,
face it, that ain't happening.
That's just too much bad blood there.
Yeah,
but
and
anyway,
Mark unfortunately was such a blip that he ain't going to be there.
I don't think what he said it wasn't good, but it was not intentional. He was not trying to steal, valor from Ace or anything.
There we are. Ken has spoken. So the broadcast is going to be on December the 23rd. I do recommend checking it out because I think it's going to be an exciting night. I can't wait to see the Rocky stuff as well. George Strait for that matter, Gloria Gaynor, Michael Crawford. You know what you're going to get with Phantom of the Opera, and I hope they pan and find Paul wherever he is at that time for it. I want to see the empty chair. I hope we get to see Ace's chair. I believe there was a turquoise box. I'm not sure exactly if that was a medallion box or what. We did see some photos shared, whether that was the placeholder for Ace. I can't wait to see how it all comes together and how the tribute works for this moment and how we compare it with, say, the Zeppelin or the Who or and those other previous inductions. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be the season. We're getting into Christmas time now and the holiday season, supposedly the season of goodwill and all that. So Peter Criss has a new album coming out on December the 19th. If you have not yet ordered it, I would strongly recommend it. Again, I'm looking forward to my fellow fan reaction to the album once it hits the streets, so to speak. Ken, I know you got your shipping notice. I got mine. It wasn't actually shipping yet. It was just that they'd printed out the shipping label because it would be too soon to be getting it out yet. So it's going to be, there's an exciting time coming. Peter Criss's 80th birthday is also coming up.
Yeah. That's right.
What a great time. Peter Criss at 80. That's a milestone. Also, almost feel we should do a live video and have people call in and, give their birthday wishes. It might be fun. So there we are. That is our just little recap of the press coverage of the Kennedy Center honors and how we think it went. Obviously, you've got your own opinions. They're all colored by our life experiences and whatnot. There is no right or wrong answer in any of this. Either you dig, you don't dig, you got reasons. All cool. I'm going to listen to some Kiss. We didn't do mailroom at the top of the show because I was in such a rush to play that recap clip. I cut Ken off. I know you got the same thing in the mail that I did. What'd you get?
I got the Made in Japan book. This which shows all the Kiss vinyl that came out of Japan over the years. Vinyls, if you want to be plural, do it plural, but vinyl is a plural name. Like
I'm not being plural, I'm just being annoying.
Here's it's good. It goes through all the vinyl releases, labels, OBs, and all that good stuff. And then it has some other stuff, posters and pictures.
Elaine always does a marvelous job.
It's nice, very nice book. Good to have, especially if you're a collector of vinyl and Japanese vinyl.
Or instead of collecting the vinyl, that's a much cheaper way of seeing all the stuff.
Yeah, I just want to see it, look at
find it. Yeah,
all the things that came out and how they looked, and I mean, it's pretty much straight on. I mean, I still want to get the picture discs, at least the Gene Simmons one from Japan that they did, which had the backside, kind of like these ones here. Yeah, there's an ace.
I wish they'd do official reissues of those.
Yeah, they should. Maybe when the solo album box set.
Yeah. That really looks great, but Ken, no news on the Destroyer magazine then? You haven't received that one yet?
I have not received my Destroyer magazine yet. Where, hey, guys, where's my Destroyer magazine? Have you shipped it yet? I'm looking forward to it. Please.
Yeah.
Ditto. All right, that's it for this week. So chime in the comments what you think about the Kennedy Center stuff that we've covered today, the assortment of topics. Again, just in relation to the Sharon clip, do give her the benefit of the doubt. If you know where that audio clip may have come from, that Ken is adamant, we'd love to be able to put up a video that debunks it properly, just to be respectful of one thing that really still does matter to a lot of us, truth. So there we are. So for now, from Ken, from Daniel, and myself, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the message board and discuss the topics we've broadcast today. Don't forget to hit subscribe wherever you've listened to this show, and a like would very much be appreciated. We hope you'll join us again, but until then, remember, life's a radio. Turn it up to 10. Oh wait, I bought something